This is how it begins, or so they say. Let's check out Rebecca. Oh, Ashton does not like us very much. Isabella down. What? New timeline. While trying to escape the Phantom disguising as her friend, Marianne discovered an underground prison hidden in the deepest parts of the mansion. Now trapped in one of its cells, she found a recording left behind of some of the mansion's victims. Oh, that's right. Goodbye, Marianne. Let's see, Rebecca Gales. April 1st. Oh, she's a joke. Aries, whatever that means, 29 years old, height 5'5", history teacher, Scottish. Atheist, but she was raised Kirk, whatever that means. Education, master's degree in education, major in European history. She likes whatever the hell stovies are. Reading in the library, going to the gym, cycling and jogging, lacrosse, and lesson plans. Oh, she is hot for lesson plans, right? Although of Scottish descent, she grew up in Luxbourne and even went to school in St. Goretti. Her parents were professors of European history and Southeast Asian history at Luxbourne University. They were often busy, and that forced Rebecca to be independent early on. Surrounded by books and instilled with the love for learning, she was a star pupil and was often called a teacher's pet for it. Her passion for academics, leading to... Is that academics or... Yeah, academics. I was almost gonna say that looks like an E instead of a C. Leading to a career in the industry was to be expected of her, the academic industry. She came out of her shell in her high school years and started becoming the Spitfire she is now. Before then, Ashton was her only friend, though she found him aggravating at first. Independent and used to taking care of others, it was no surprise when she helped out the young foreigner who moves in next door. Oh, those young foreigners, right? I have no idea. I live on the west coast, so a small town, relatively. Don't really have foreigners. All right, this is how it begins, or so they say. With the gentle wind drifting through wide-open windows, muffled laughters, and footsteps fading behind empty hallways, and the light kiss of the afternoon sun. Soon there will be a call, a crossing of thresholds into the unknown. Maybe we are off to some grand adventure, or diving into another gripping mystery. One can't really tell. For all I know, a hero might even come sweep me off my feet. If I'm lucky.
That's not exactly a bad thing when you think about it.
Maybe a hero like Ashton, right? But this is far from one, isn't it? A riveting tale, that is. The mild breeze, the faint murmurs, the warm rays painting every nook and cranny a fiery hue, they are all as real as they can get. As much as I want to write a little tale out of this, I'm far from someone who can. Fleeting fancies, that's what these are. Merely passing thoughts to occupy an idle mind, while waiting for another busy workday to end. Then again, maybe in another life I am one. Who knows? But at present, what I have and what I've chosen to be, well...
I won't last years here if I find teaching rowdy adolescents a tedious job, will I?
Upgrade to college level. Apparently it's a little bit easier. Admittingly, the whole affair isn't exactly as grand or exciting as I had imagined as a child teaching teenagers. If I weren't so stubborn and too passionate about the whole idea, I probably would have quit a long time ago. But it's always the kids that make it worthwhile, isn't it? Those little shitheads. As if in agreement, as soon as my pen slides into a neat circle against the papers I'm grading, the final bell rings. Like a dam that has opened, students begin piling out into the hallway soon after. For a short minute, I let the noise fill my ears, let my mind wander to a place far removed from all the hubbub. Solitary moments like this have come few and far between lately. Even my own home hasn't been as quiet as usually I prefer, what with that ghost screeching at me. Though, in hindsight, the entire place hasn't been the same either, since Isabella moved in next door and took Ash's attention. And if her fussing over a minor cold last week tells anything, I might as well throw away any idea of solitude out the nearest balcony so long as she lives nearby, because goddammit, she can't take care of herself. At that memory, my eyes automatically shift over the bottles sitting at the edge of my desk. Bottle of whiskey. Because Scots drink whiskey, I guess? Scottish whiskey, yeah. A chuckle escapes from me as I reach for it.
A little ball of energy and enthusiasm. That big baby.
Mother hen, she calls me, and then she says and does the same thing right after. It's not that I'm unused to being on the receiving end of other people's worries, or I feel any sort of apprehension over her fretting. If I am to be completely honest, it's actually amusing how someone can be childlike one minute, then act like a responsible adult the next. But there's a dissonance there, both in her actions and her words. Although she may not look like it, may not say anything, may not lose her cheer one way or another, I know these troubles have weighed down on her lately with that specter. Her face says it all, that big numpty. That delicious numpty. I don't know what a numpty is. Sounds like food. If she thinks I won't notice, she's got another thing coming for her. That's how she always been. I do understand that part loud and clear, it's just that I really rather not pass another burden onto her.
Or become one myself.
Aren't I supposed to be the one taking care of them? Though I guess that's simply one of those things people eventually grow away from once you've all started leading different lives. ... Not completely different, I hope. Somehow, that thought makes me feel ... uneasy. Thankfully, before stranger ideas can root in my mind, a faint buzzing comes from my bag, cutting through the rest of my thoughts. A small frown forms in my lips when the screen lights up and an unknown number flashes. For a long second, my thumb hovers over the answer button. Even the voice that responds once I do accept the call is wholly unfamiliar. Those damn, what are they? Spoofing numbers. Spoofing.
Hello?
Oh, goodness. Finally, it connects. Hello? Is this Miss Gales? Rebecca Gales?
Yes, speaking. Who is this?
Oh, sorry. Rose Cooper, Briar Realty Corporation.
Oh my god, we're gonna see it all from the very beginning from her perspective. When are we gonna move on to new stuff? I don't know. I just want to know what happened to Isabella.
Briar Realty?
My frown deepens as I straighten from my chair. Something in her tone, despite sounding remarkably friendly and light, doesn't sit quite well with me. There's something sinister about this, Rose. The rigid pause that follows doesn't help ease the tension that has suddenly descended either.
Miss Cooper?
Yes. Things are a bit busy on my end. I apologize. I'm not certain if Isabella has mentioned anything before, but we're working together on a property at the moment, and...
The Armengard Mansion, yes. She said something about that earlier. Is there a problem?
This is about Isabella, actually.
She's dead! She wastes no time relaying everything. The details she provided are, admittingly, a bit vague, but enough for me to get a gist of what happened. It isn't the bad sort I'm expecting, though still worrying. Especially with the words panic attack and pale looking, a bit sickly, woven together in one foreboding sentence. But as quickly as it surfaces, I stomp down on the urge to demand answers right there and then. Now isn't the proper time for useless questions. I'll find out soon enough regardless. To Miss Cooper's credit, she neither hesitates nor falters all throughout, nor does she say anything during my monologue. There's some sort of comfort in knowing Isabella has someone like her to guide her, though not as much as I would have liked, given how short it will be. After all, this is Isabella we're talking about. That young, delicious foreigner. What are the chances she just said a bunch of excuses so she won't get sent home? High. Very high. ... Oh, she is going to hear it this time.
You were listed as one of her emergency contacts, so I thought it'd be best you know about this.
How is she? Is she doing okay?
How do you approach someone about being an emergency contact if they're not like a family member? That seems like it'd be a bit awkward, like, hey, can I put you as an emergency contact because my family lives on the other side of the world, and the data plan rates there is just horrendous.
I had her take a break for now, but honestly, I'd feel better if someone were to pick her up and take her home for some rest. Anthem's a fair distance from Luxborn. I really don't want her going off on her own. I'd do it myself, but oh, you know how it is today. Big day. People everywhere until the open house ends. I'm really sorry to ask this of you, Miss Gales. I know you're busy.
Oh, no, it's all good. I was just about to leave from work. I hope to leave early today anyway. A few minutes ahead wouldn't hurt. I can be there in a few, 40 minutes tops. Is that all right?
You know what? She doesn't sound Scottish, not like the stereotypical Scottish person I've heard.
More than fine, Miss Gales, thank you. We're supposed to be here until... Oh, excuse me. One moment, please. Yes, ma'am.
The faint hum of conversation echoes from her end. It sounds as though the place is buzzing with more people than you'll expect from a regular open house, like, more than 3. I was skeptical at first, or sceptical. The house is old, not to mention its inconvenient location in Luxborn's outskirts. Who wants to live in a place almost an hour's drive away from the comforts of a city aside from either rural people or rich rural people? But from what little I can hear, it appears Isabella has every right to be optimistic about this sale. If I didn't understand why she was so adamant refusing my offer of help before, I think I do now. To some degree.
We'll be resuming the tour soon. Yes, thank you.
Don't mind the employee who has just passed out and has gone into hysterics. We will not delay the tour.
Sorry about that. I really need to get this thing going.
These rich people do not have any consideration for the servants.
Lord knows how I'll salvage the situation here. It shouldn't be anything complicated, but still, clients. It can be difficult when they want to be. Anyway, just look for me when you get here, alright? I shouldn't be too hard to miss.
But then, Isabella leaves with Ashton.
No problem. Thanks for letting me know about this. Just make sure Isabella stays put, please. Heaven knows how stubborn that girl can be.
Oh, believe me, I know. Don't worry about it. I'll have a few of our staff keep an eye on her for me until you get here.
There was more than just her and Isabella? Surprise.
That's all I'm asking. I appreciate it.
The whole thing ends on a surprisingly pleasant note. If only the same can be said for the news she brought. I allow a brief minute to pass to ease whatever tension has latched itself firmly to my nerves. But no matter how much I wish for it, my mind stubbornly refuses to do so. My hands are unsteady against the papers as I pretend to arrange them. It's like she's having a breakdown or something. Lucid thoughts, every single ounce of it grimmer than the other, grows with each passing second I linger. Linger. Something about this whole thing, along with the sudden unease and nagging worry, screams off. Wrong. This isn't the riveting tale I've hoped to step into today. Even on a rush, getting everything in order before leaving takes nearly a good quarter hour. Wow, these people don't have faces! By the time I make it out of the classroom, the commotion has already died down, dwindling to mere echoes and distant laughters. From the nearby room, melodies from a rehearsing band drifts freely into the air, filling the almost empty hallway with their warm, lively tunes. Any other day, I'll stop, bask in the music, and enjoy what little peace it brings, until someone hits the wrong note. Not today, however. My steps are brisk, and sure as I march to Edward's Hall's exit. The sooner I confirm Isabella's okay, the sooner I can shake off this niggling feeling. For one reason or another, that single call of all possible things has thrown everything off kilter. I'd rather this be over with as quickly as possible. So much that I nearly barrel over a student in my haste. Though perhaps it's really the other way around and she barreled over me. Oh, this creepy kid. The incarnation of the specter. When I look down, a set of eyes, bright and hopeful, stare back at me. Her arms are wrapped around my waist like a vise, and at my attention a grin spreads across her face. Grin most demented. Eunice Tardies, Miss Pink.
Hello, Kylie. You know, you aren't supposed to run into people like that.
Why doesn't she have a voice? I thought she was supposed to have a voice. What is going on with no voice? She had a voice before. What is happening? Did I do something? Sorry, Miss Pink. She loosens her hold on me, but not a hint of guilt or regret appears on her. This mute child is just wide-eyed and staring at me. If anything, it seems the remark only amused her. A smile appears on my face before I can help it, matching the one on her own.
Just remember not to do it again, all right? You could get hurt.
You sound like my mama when she's scolding Rowan, Miss Pink.
Oh my god, she has a voice and it is even more terrifying than I imagined. I'm clicking.
I'm sure your mama only means well. I know she'll be worried sick if one of you were to get hurt.
Apparently, the high-class British speak French, from what I've heard.
Where's your brother anyway? Aren't you two supposed to be heading home now?
Rowan said he's got some stuff he needs to do before we go. I think he's taking too long.
This Rowan doesn't actually exist. He's a figment of her imagination because she killed her younger brother.
But he promised to buy me jelly babies today if I keep what he's doing a secret from Mama and Papa.
Oh no, it's even worse. They're avoiding copyrights.
Any chance you'll tell Miss Pink about it?
Oh, she's now calling herself Miss Pink, huh? She shakes her head, both her hands going to her mouth as if to keep a precious secret from spilling out.
I made a promise. He said it's for Tia Luke.
Oh, something like a gift?
Like a deal.
It just, I know it's supposed to be, it sounds like she's covering her mouth, but it just sounds weirder.
Tio promised to take him somewhere cool when he's old enough. Rowan's gonna prove he's a grown-up.
They're gonna go to the mansion into the basement. Laughter slips free from my lips. The teacher in me wants to give whoever this Tio is a reprimand for bringing about this kind of behavior in children. But if both Suarez kids are so fond of him, there shouldn't be anything to worry about, right? It's not like he's keeping women in a dungeon to torture them. At any rate, there's nothing but well-behaved, both Kylie and her imaginative brother. Rowan, the eldest, may have an occasional odd streak in and out of class, but their parents taught them well. I see no reason to cast any suspicion of bad behavior on them.
As long as it isn't anything dangerous, all right?
It's not. Cross my heart.
Only dangerous for the women trapped in the basement.
My drawings are a lot prettier than what he's doing anyway. Tio said so. Do you want to see? I drew one earlier at class.
Oh, this is gonna be a big deal.
Is that why you're here?
Oh, why are you skeptical?
Not really. I was gonna show it to my friend first. But since it's you, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if you see it before she does.
Her friend is a specter, or the specter.
Oh no. I can't stay right now, Kylie.
Her face falls immediately after the words are out. A small part of me feels responsible for that crestfallen look, but as much as I want to stay a little longer, there's another place I need to be right now. And frankly, another child to look after. Taking both of her hands, I kneel in front of her and muster the most rueful smile I can give. Can't say I have encountered rueful before. That was odd. At her age, I'm quite sure she already understands what I'm about to say before they're even out. But, remarkably, she doesn't look away or pout as I'm expecting her to.
I'm sorry. You know what? Rowan has a class with me on Monday around this time. Why don't you drop by again next week? After class? I'll even make sure to wait for you. It's just that I absolutely must leave now. My friend had an accident earlier, and I'm the only one she has here.
What about her mama and papa?
Her family lives really far from here, I'm afraid. Do you remember where Asia is? The southeast part? That's where they are.
Her eyes immediately light up at my question. Just like that, I know I've earned the girl's forgiveness.
Oh, just like Takako.
Who?
My friend. She said she used to live there, only just a little higher than southeast. But she hasn't come home in a long time, so she doesn't remember much about it anymore. Melody says it's weird I talked to her, but I think she's just shy. They could be good friends too. Don't you think so, Miss Pink?
Every time I hear Miss Pink, I always hear Pink Taco.
Maybe if you introduce them properly, they will be.
That's what I think. Takako's just lonely. If she makes more friends, she won't be anymore. Is your friend like that too?
A little, possibly.
She is too outgoing. You even stole her wannabe man.
To be honest, sometimes I can't tell with her.
After all, Isabella has always been the kind to hold a smile even when things have taken a turn for the worse. 5 years and one will think it's enough time to know a person. But when you consider it, can you really know someone unless you've been put into a desperate situation and see what extent they'll go to survive? Come to think of it, all these years I've not even once seen her cry. Not over a trivial matter, or even when things are tough.
Okay, you can go to her. I'll just show you my drawing next time.
Thank you. Remind me to buy you a huge glass of parfait, all right?
What? That is unteacherly.
No, I'll get a stomachache. Takako says so.
Who's this Takako? Who's so pragmatic? Oops, what'd I do? ...
A small one is okay.
I'll remember that. Say hi to your friend for me.
God, this kid is so good at guilt tripping, she got a parfait out of it.
I will. I'm sure she'd love to meet you too. See you, Miss Pink.
I'll see you later, Kylie.
London Bridge is falling down, falling
God,
down,
okay.
falling down.
She doesn't look back or wait for any sort of goodbye from me. With a song and an extra step in her steps, extra spring in her step, she bounds. Okay, thank you. She bounds across the corridor with as much spirit only a child her age can have. As if the conversation has never taken any downhill turn for her at all. That won't last long, not when she gets into high school. As if there isn't a single thing to worry about in the world, without a period. Not long after, she disappears behind a door, leaving behind strains of an old, familiar rhyme lingering in the air. Carefree. Gods, I keep hitting that button. It's the left mouse button. Unbidden. Untroubled moments like this, I envy her. And as I resume my hurried pace, a tiny whisper at the back of my mind wishes the same can be said of myself and my own worries. Of not being in a riveting story. Luxbourne may be a small city, but it's no stranger to hellish rush hour traffic. There's just far too many humans in this filthy world. But, surprisingly, getting out of the city today proves more of a breeze than a hassle. A relief, considering how none of my calls to Isabella have made it through. Either the reception's really bad over there, she's ignoring them on purpose because she's busy on Ashton. Both does nothing to ease the disquiet in me. The rest of my drive passes without much incident as soon as I'm out of the busy streets. In less than 30 minutes, the mansion looms ahead of me. For all the fuss Isabella made about the house, it remains a thing of beauty. Even though eerily, there's no sound of animals or insects nearby, just a faint howl. Unlike Luxborn, the estate in the nearby Ansem village stand as its complete opposite. Living and breathing the songs of the old, whispers of a once booming haven lingering in the air. Contemporary conveniences aside, it's a place I'm glad modernization hasn't wholly touched.
It's just a shame the locals know more of the silly hearsay than the history itself. If I could only knock some sense into these people!
There was only 3 girls murdered there. Only 3. And then they had a priest tend to them. So it was okay. No specters, no ghosts. Sadly, complaining is all I can afford to do. As much as I want to give them a piece of my mind, it isn't why I'm here. I don't think these rich types will appreciate getting a lecture from me either. I have as much business with them as they have with me. With a heavy sigh, I give myself one last second to take in the scenery before heading up the main entrance. Most of the guests are already heading out. Though some still linger, it's mainly just to take photos of the house's facade or its various rooms. Definitely not the dungeon. I pause for a moment, scanning the small crowd gathered at the foyer, looking for any sign of the familiar ponytail among the sea of hats and heads.
No sign of her.
No sign of the other staff or Miss Cooper either. I can certainly look for Isabella on my own, but in a place this big? I'd be lucky if I didn't end up lost or find her before we need to meet with Zachary and Ash tonight. Even though it's a very simple layout, it's too big. Sighing, I reach for my mobile and redial her number, the gesture familiar now after so many attempts earlier. Not that I bother to enter her name into the phone book. If she doesn't answer, I can still try contacting Miss Cooper. I just hope the network reception will cooperate this time. This side of the county has never been popular with the tech-savvy after all. To my relief, it only took 3 unsuccessful tries. At the 4th one, right as I'm about to switch to another intercept message, the line finally rings. Dot. 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 Silence follows while I wait for her to pick up, the ringing going far too long for my taste. That's not silence. By now, most of the visitors have already cleared out. All I have for company are the faint murmurs and eerie calmness left in their wake. A sudden hush settles and gives way to noises louder than they've ever meant to be. Doors creaking and slamming shut in some distant part of the mansion. Floorboards groaning under the sheer weight of the house's history as people try to escape the specter. In the now empty hall, they all Gods, I am just having trouble. Reverberate with special clarity against the walls. Like this, these old stories seem to almost have a ring of truth to it. I don't get to stray far into that ugly line of thought, however. Not a second later, a sound clicks from the other end.
Hello? Isabella? Miss Cooper called earlier and...
You know, it's not like Rebecca has seen the letter, so why is she experiencing this? Then again, Isabella also experienced this, and she didn't see the letter either. Yet. Well, yet. Previously, before when she had a call like this.
Isabella? Belle? Are you alright?
Without any warning, the call gets cut off. Busy notes blare sharply against the heavy silence. But above the noise, cutting through the mute air, remains the faint cries of a woman. Can you hear it? From beyond the foyer. My hand falls to my side as I cast a wary look around, waiting for someone to come running. Surely I can't be the only one hearing this. There must still be some staff hanging around, checking things out. But no one does. Not even when her sobs turn more frantic and anguished.
Excuse me? Hello? Who's there? Isabella? Isabella? Is that you?
So does seeing the letter allow the specter to leave the mansion and haunt the person who saw the letter? Even kill them? No answer. Growing anxious, I amble over where her cries come from, each step slow and cautious, towards a door on the other end of the room. While I'm far from someone who readily gives in to fear or stories lacking factual basis, the vague, restless feeling I have earlier immediately returns to me. And despite myself, my heart begins to race and my breathing quickens.
Belle? Belle, it's me. Miss Cooper called. Is everything okay?
Abruptly, all of it stops. My whole body tenses, mouth dragging in a ragged breath, ears straining for any other sound yet to come from the other side. But nothing follows. Instead, the quiet only lends itself to the heavy tension in the air, as if every small movement will disturb the fragile stillness hanging in the room. I wait for another second. Then, with a caution, I reach for the knob. My fingers barely graze the brass handle when a hand falls on my shoulder.
Excuse me, ma'am?
She's gonna beat the shit out of someone for that one.
I am so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you.
No, it's a...
Still reeling, my gaze shifts back to the door as if any second now the cries will start again or whoever's inside will burst out of the room. But I don't get to dwell on these. The woman's worried voice breaks through the haze in my mind again, oddly soothing in the thick of my unease. Even if the concerned look comes from a total stranger, finally being in the company of someone else is somehow comforting.
Ma'am? Are you okay?
Oh, no, I'm fine. This is probably just some cold.
Do you need to sit down?
No need. I'm actually looking for a friend.
I wave the mobile in front of her like the gesture alone explains everything. Vaguely, I note my tight grip on it and quickly slip it into my pocket before she notices. She doesn't need to know.
Well, I'm not really sure if your friend would still be here. We're actually about to close the open house in a few minutes, ma'am.
No worries. She's not a guest here. She works for Briar Realty. Miss Cooper called me earlier. In fact, I'm also looking for her.
Recognition flashes in her eyes and her worried expression dissolves into a smile at once. It's all I need to know that I don't have to look elsewhere or venture deeper into the mansion on my own. In some way, I'm not too keen on the latter right now, not until I've descended into the madness.
Oh, Miss Rebecca Gales, is it?
Yes. Sorry if I'm a bit late.
It's not a problem. I was busy with the open house and a few clients anyway. It's actually a good thing you came when you did. Let's see. Isabella should be here somewhere. I told her to stay put earlier. Girl never listens.
Rose? Rosie? May I have a minute? There's just this one little thing before we go.
Miss Cooper's head immediately snaps up at the voice. In a blink, a different kind of smile spreads on her face. A smile, still friendly even, but the kind given mainly for the sake of pleasing other people rather than making friends.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be there in a few.
It's an impressive thing, to say the least. That level of professionalism that is just so absent in this modern world. I suppose working years in this kind of business trains you enough to be able to pull that off without batting an eye or a leash. It certainly didn't seem to have rubbed off on Isabella, though. I guess they need to try rubbing off more.
Sorry, could you give me a second? I have to take care of this.
Don't worry about it. I understand. I can wait a few more minutes. Clients, right?
Oh my god, I got students, they're just as bad, right?
You won't hear anything from me. Priorities, you know? But if you want, you can stay at the parlor in the meantime. I think we have a few refreshments left.
No, thank you. I'm going out with a few friends after this.
Can't pre-drink before the show.
Isabella's supposed to join us too. But that depends on how she's doing, of course.
All right, this won't be long, I promise.
She throws me an apologetic look before sauntering over the small group gathered at the entrance. A couple, or siblings, yes, they are siblings, and another woman, probably their threesome, secretary. They're their secretary. Either way, they look no different from the other guests. All three of them primly dressed, albeit in a manner significantly simpler than the others. No frills, no extravagance of any form. But their gestures and movements alone speak volumes of their ingrained lifestyle. In their presence, I do what I can to appear inconspicuous on my side of the foyer so as not to draw their hungry attention. Maybe accepting Miss Cooper's offer would have been a much better choice than standing around awkwardly and gaping at them. All while also attempting my best not to listen in on their conversation, even though that's not impolite if they're speaking out in front of others, I don't know. Although that one proves more difficult with how enthusiastic the blonde woman is. Her voice easily echoes through the walls with only the five of us here. Pretty soon I find myself being drawn into their talk without meaning to.
Tomorrow? First thing in the morning?
First thing in the morning, ma'am.
The mundane talk isn't what catches my attention, however.
Very well. We'll have our lawyers prepare everything as soon as possible. Let's make this whole thing easier for everyone, shall we? Just let me know if there's anything you need from me.
Like a ton of money to bribe people to hurry this along.
You know how to contact me, yes?
Got your mobile number saved here already.
Good. It's just a matter of time then.
It's a brief moment. A fleeting shift of my eye.
Monday for us, Marianne.
As long as you're positive, we won't be having any problems by that time. You can count on my team.
Someone who actually sounds Scottish.
You worry too much. Let me handle those things.
Hang on. Never mind, she's Irish. Oops. Yeah.
Do be thrilled, though. I imagine it's not every day you get projects like this,
And the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it.
Oh, I'm certain Mint's ecstatic, Buttercup.
Why'd the music suddenly get very sinister? The Mint.
Aren't you, Marianne?
No one's questioning why he called her Mint.
You know, we could all celebrate this with a few drinks. Why don't we?
Oh, oh, that saucy mink. That blonde, saucy mink bloke.
In fact, there's this really excellent Irish pub I visited a few days ago.
Full of Irish nationals, right? Looming. There's a presence looming behind his shoulder. I see it now. Hovering over his shoulders, controlling him, possessing him. drawn to him like a moth to a flame. A dark blur. No, a shadow.
I think I'll pass on that, sir. I have more important matters to attend to.
Why is her voice muffled?
Darling, your liver.
Why is her voice muffled as well?
You already had a glass today, and apparently a few days ago as well.
What? That drunkard.
How many times do we have to remind you? Doctor's orders, remember?
What a shame. You never let me do anything fun.
Oh, it's getting worse. But as I try to make sense of it, a heavy feeling descends over my whole body. And then she passes out. It happens without warning, forcing me to close my eyes. The sensation creeps to every part of me, crawling under my skin and draining me of little by little of any strength. Before I know it, my hand is gripping the nearby door for support. The sudden nausea drowns out their voices, what little sound there is. All except for the whispers and the laughters. Judging. Mocking. Her choice and degree and career. Taunting. Muffled, inaudible words bearing down on me like a death sentence. They wrap around my neck and limbs, binds tightening with every syllable, every utterance. And with each draw of breath I take, they drag me down slowly, almost painfully into a bottomless abyss. On, and on, and on, till the sounds turn into mere distant echoes. Until suddenly it shatters.
Well, what are we waiting for? Are we done here?
His voice rips through the fog like a sharp blade, and my eyes snap open because he sounds like a twit. When I look to them again, it's gone.
Just a second, darling. Send my regards to Isabel, please. Poor girl. Please let her know she doesn't have to worry and tell her to get some rest. Anyway, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Likewise, ma'am.
No shadows or dark clouds. Only amicable smiles and cordial handshakes, the usual pleasantries. Almost said peasantries. Pleasantries, as Miss Cooper leads them out to the mansion like a graceful host. None of the group seems to have noticed it. And even as I force my breathing to calm down, keep my eyes trained on their backs and wait for something to happen, it doesn't come back. She returns a moment later. Gently, she closes the great doors behind her, but there's a smile on her lips and an extra skip in her step when she walks back to me. Whatever she was discussing with the group had put her in a good mood. Even she appears to have not observed anything odd. Was I just seeing things?
Glad that was over. It's been a long day. I thought for sure we're going to... Hey, are you sure you're doing okay? You look a bit green.
It's all good. I'm actually still recovering from a cold. Weather's been crazy lately.
That must be it. Surely it's the weather. The weather, this stupid cold, and the friendly warnings I'm too stubborn to listen to. As much as I hate to admit it, Isabella's right. I was, and still am, a little feverish when she visited me at school this morning. The medicine helped, of course, but only some. Although it's not like I can't function, it did get better after lunch, and I was able to go through my schedule like the usual. Now I'm not so sure. However, I can't keep acting like I've seen some sort of apparition when it's anything but. I simply must have listened to too many times to Isabella last week. My fever-muddled mind has started to confuse things. If this doesn't let up, I just need another visit to my doctor, plain and simple. Though I do hope it won't get worse. We did promise to watch a Zachary's film together.
I know what you mean. I've been complaining to Isabel. It doesn't seem to affect her much, though. Must be because she grew up in the tropics. Anyway, shall we? She's probably hanging out with the rest of the catering staff.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised she's there. She eats like 10 hungry men when she isn't feeling well. Lead the way.
With a small nod, she gestures for me to follow. I do so without much thought, finally putting everything in the back of my mind. The entire visit took a whole 24 minutes, and my trip to the mansion, as it turns out, is a useless endeavor in itself. That $50 cab fare was a waste. Isabella is no longer there, left shortly before I arrived. Or at least, that's what the few staff who saw her assumed. None of them knew where she went, but I can take a few guesses. There are only a number of places in Luxbourne she frequents, and well, she's never been the complex kind. That simple girl. It doesn't really take a genius to figure it out. Still, it's odd she left on her own. She could have at least waited for Miss Cooper. It would have saved her having to pay the cab's fare twice today, like I had to for no reason.
And right after she was told to stay put. I mean, who does that? Oh, sod off! You don't own the road!
In the end, all Miss Cooper could give me were a string of apologies for my trouble and the request to let her know when I find Isabella. The whole affair didn't even last long. I probably spent more time traveling back and forth. Soon enough, I'm weaving my way back to downtown Luxbourne, worried sick, and on top of that, maybe a little annoyed because I wasted that $50. 50 pounds. I don't know what it means. Probably more like 65 pounds. Last I remember of the conversion rate. Whether at the unexpected turn of events, or at least at Isabella herself, I'd rather not think about it for now. Not when I'm already running late for Zachary's film. Besides, I'm perfectly sure that's where I'll find her. As one would expect, people are already gathered to the movie house when I get to it. To watch Batcat, Pocket Chibi, and Point of No Return. The small avenue where it's located has been closed off early from any passing traffic to make way for the avid moviegoers who are sure to crowd the venue. I have to park almost a street away and walk the remaining distance because of it. I guess she didn't actually take a cab. Looking for them has taken a while in a crowd this big, but I eventually spot them near the entrance. Thanks to Zachary, mostly, because he's stereotypically tall. And like I've surmised, Isabella is with them.
I knew it.
Ilabeza. Wasting no time, I march over their little group. She just marches over them, just marches right over them. Words filled with concern tumble out of my mouth before I can stop myself.
Isabella! Oh, thank goodness. Becca, you're just in time.
You're just in time. An odd expression crosses her face as I hold it with both hands. I ignore it in favor of getting a good look at her, forcing her to keep still and fix her gaze at me.
Becca, you're squishing my face.
How are you? Are you all right?
Why wouldn't I be?
There doesn't seem to be any visible injury, nor does she appear to be in any pain. Apart from her confused frown and my questions, she looks pretty much like how she would any other day. Even so, she can't really tell those things with her at first glance. You can't. The last time she got sick, she never bothered to call anyone. Even me, who lives right next door. My gods, I keep doing that. If I hadn't checked on her then, she probably would have died on her bed with the rest of us, none the wiser. It's one thing we laugh about now, but moments like these also teaches you something about a person. If anything, it has given me more reason to constantly worry about her and not trust her during an apocalypse. And the moment a familiar name comes up, I know my concerns right now aren't completely baseless.
Rose called me earlier.
Her expression swiftly changes, and gently as she can, Isabella pushes my hands away. Yet even before she says anything, I already have a hunch how this whole thing will play out.
Oh, no, everything's good. Rose covered for me at work today.
That's not what I'm talking about. How's your head?
Then and there, the whole conversation goes down as I've imagined, and already replayed in my head several times while I had to drive back here. Whoa! She is a quick one. She just wasn't quick enough for the apparition. Rest in peace, Isabella. Rest in peace. She dodges my hand when I reach for the back of her head to force her down on her knees. Intending to check the said injury myself, even makes a show of hiding behind Zachary just to avoid me. Instantly, what's supposed to be a simple inquiry dissolves into a shameless game of tag. Shouting and chasing like none of us can be bothered to act like the full-grown adults we're all supposed to be at 29. Including Ashton, who is also chasing and slapping Zachary's ass. I won't put it past Isabella, but Ash, out of everyone, actually, I can kind of see it. In fact, if that stupid smirk on his face tells me anything, he finds this whole mess amusing. Oh, for the love of... Did I skip? Oh, no, I didn't.
Isabella, this isn't a laughing matter.
She did look pale when I saw her.
Wow, thanks a lot, Ashton, you traitor. I'll get you back for this, just you wait.
What? I'm just saying it as it is. If you mentioned this earlier, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
There is a moment's pause. My hand stills midair as my attention shifts to Ashton and the words he leaves hanging between the four of us. He doesn't meet my eye. I don't think he's even aware of what he said. But the meaning in each syllable alone is clear. And they echo. They sting. They burn.
I'm sorry. Saw her?
Yeah, they arrived together. Bella looked fine to me then. I don't know.
Of course. Of course. Why else would Isabella leave on her own after being told to stay put after that little chat about money this morning? Something close to silence falls while I mull over the words, both what's already been said and what's left unspoken. When I do find my voice, it only reeks with nothing but bitter, unpleasant thoughts. Thoughts I quickly stamp out before they surface. Thoughts I hide the best I can in the deepest parts of my mind, locking it away for no other to see.
Oh, that's good. At least she didn't have to travel alone, right? At least. Good.
Yes, I too love having a stuffy nose. Yet, try as I might, the green-eyed monster easily rears its ugly head. Called... That's what they call, Zachary's sweater. I ruined the joke. Oh my god. Like it always does, every time his gaze lingers a second longer. Every time he smiles in a manner far too gentle, far too sincere whenever he thinks no one can see. Every time my mind suggests his words mean more than they should. Every small little thing. Despite what he says, despite his tone.
Look, you guys.
For all I know, it may just be the same kind of fondness born from friendship, and not lust. Maybe I'm simply overthinking like he often tells me, or maybe there really is something there. But in his short display of impatience, I know the whole of it is just for show. After all, growing up together with him didn't teach me nothing about him. Double negative. For whose sake it is this time, though? For him? For Zachary? For her? Or for me? That I can't tell.
If she says she's okay, then there's nothing we can do about it. It's not like we can stop her either.
You know, I just noticed both their pants, both their pants are bunched up very weirdly in the crotch area. Look at that. Look at Zachary's. What's going on there? And Ashton, what? I can't tell with Isabella. I don't really see any weird bunching. Oh my god. It's got an erection from this.
Besides, she's still acting like the same old Isabella to me, if she can still run around like that.
Gods, I can't unsee it now.
Why are you taking her side?
I'm not. But if she wants to watch Zach's movie with us, I'm not going to stop her. She's probably the one looking forward to it the most.
Ash, that's... You, of all people, should know...
Tell you what, if I notice something amiss with her, I'll take her to the nearest hospital myself.
Just going to the hospital like it's no big deal, my goodness. Apparently, wherever this is, Britain, England, whatever, is a very different place. You just go to the hospital for anything.
Is that good enough for you?
Anything short of dying, or well, guess you go at dying too, yeah. My mouth opens, then snaps shut almost as quickly, forming a thin, hard line instead. I can't respond, not because there's nothing to say. On the contrary, there's plenty. So many things I can use to reason and get him to agree. But because he speaks with much certainty, with much reassurance, it feels like there isn't even a choice. All I can give is a long, deep breath and a reluctant nod in the face of it. Before I can get a grip of myself and my own weakness, the mood immediately shifts and I'm being tackled into a hug.
Thanks, Becca.
It's always been you with him, isn't it?
Did you say something?
Did you say something out loud that you meant to say internally?
Me? Nothing. Don't mind me.
A lie, obviously. What else can it be? Each and every smile, a tiny effort to keep things as they are, or so I tell myself. Little do I know, this is merely a preamble. ... It starts out quietly, and without fanfare amidst friendly jibes and harmless teasing with a scrap of paper fluttering harmlessly to the ground. Thus we have all been cursed. One that, suspiciously, looks like a cheap Halloween prank no matter how you look at it. And yet, despite how ludicrous it all is, Isabella stubbornly insists. As if our whole life depends on acknowledging the truth in her story. Does she even realize how absurd she sounds? Crivens. Even my students wouldn't fall for this. What is Crivens?
Isabella, aren't you taking this a bit too far?
She doesn't give me time to regret nor think over my choice of words. From there, it escalates, grows into an argument too petty even for our standards as adults. Before we know it, one after another harsh, scathing words are being spoken.
It's not a joke! Will you guys listen to me first? I saw something in the house earlier. It stood right in front of me. If I hadn't gotten away, that thing might have...
Right. And in broad daylight, Isabella. Even someone gullible would find the logic in that screwed up. There's also no way in hell that this supernatural shit is true.
But it's real! What do you think I saw?
Look at how possessed she looks. Look at how Belle. She's now called Belle. What?
A hallucination? A delusion? Didn't you say you fell down some stairs? So maybe Rebecca's right.
It happened after, when I was trying to get away. I almost got stuck in the same room with that thing.
Don't you mean it happened before?
We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
'Cause you sound crazy. But someone has to be patient in all this, and however much my own has already been frayed earlier, there's no one else. Who else here can deal with someone selfishly acting like a kid? Like every other time, it has to be me.
We are, and you know that. But this thing and that thing has got nothing to do with the other. When Rose called earlier, I thought she's just exaggerating. But based on what I'm seeing right now, maybe it's better if we really postpone this for now.
Don't bother.
Just like that, she cuts us off. Slams the door right on our faces while my own temper flares before I can stop it. Although it falters briefly at the hard expression on her, when she snatches the blasted paper from Ashton, I hold on to it. Regardless of how upset she appears, soured expression and balled fists, throwing a tantrum is simply unacceptable. For a grown woman at that. Words form at the tip of my tongue, ready to lash her. But before I can open my mouth and let it all out, our feelings and mistakes be damned, Zachary raises a voice of his own.
Guys!
Bravo, Zachary. A warning underneath the warm and hopeful beat in his voice. We all stop and look at him. Even my own anger subsides a little at his tone.
Why don't we all calm down first? I'm sure Isabella has her reasons too. No need to be hard on her. And hey, ain't this supposed to be a happy get-together?
To an outsider, it may sound like a desperate request, but Zachary has always been the one to keep a level head over petty squabbles. This time's no different. He knows what to say, and when he lets it fall, they only ring sharp and true.
We haven't seen each other for months. I'd really love to know what y'all have been up to. I only ever get to talk to Bella over chat. Please.
And as careful as he is with his own tone, it does make me feel ashamed. We're supposed to be here for him, to give what little support we can give, yet here he is, trying to keep 3 stubborn people from outright hashing it out in public. Later we can and will talk about it, of course. There's a proper time and place for it. At the moment, my anger and whatever reprimands it carries no longer matter. Beside me, Ashton appears to have already caught on. The lines of his shoulders ease to something much more relaxed. His expression back to his usual nonchalance. I can tell the lines of his shoulder with that big puffy furry collar. Isabella, however, she stands perfectly still, her hands clasping the straps of her bag like a lifeline, eyes trained at some point near her shoes. And next time, we shall hear all about the movie theater experience in detail from Rebecca's point of view, where she probably saw the ghost in the film.